All right. All right. Let's see. Hello. So I was testing the stream earlier, and I was dropping some frames. I don't know if it's gonna happen again now. Let's say it doesn't. Hopefully not. But yeah, today we have a guitar cam, and yeah, we're just gonna continue learning uh with the whole fucking series and shit. That's literally it. Let's get the camera a bit. Well, it's tilting. So just to see, okay. Oh, I have my guitar rig open. God damn it. There's an open guitar. I hate when this happens. Why does it do that? Why does it fucking do that? Hold on. Why must you do that, young man? Bitch. And tell us. Alright, let's. Where is it? Where is the thing? Open the thing. Come on. It's not opening the thing. Open the thing. Where's my fucking thing? Bro! Everything's breaking today. Holy shit. There you go. I'm gonna get that fucking riff one day. I'm gonna get that riff one day. The day I get that riff is the day I'll fucking graduate just in guitar. Mark my words. Alright, let's just fucking go with this. Alright, and a bit of intro again. For those of you who are new or somehow watching this apparently. The idea is to just stream my learning process or progression or whatever and just share it with the public people, you know. Try and inspire other people to like, you know, learn guitar. Gonna be a pretty loud episode this time because this is the episode where we're gonna play the guitar. So this course is an hour long. I don't know if I'm gonna go through the whole hour though, because I'm probably gonna like stop a lot in between these, or maybe not. You know, 1 hour is kind of like a normal like length to just take in. It's probably like a normal class. Like maybe like I'll be fine. I don't know. I'll prepare a little bit of stuff first. Like let's get this let's get a notebook out. Let's get a notebook out. It's gonna open. And yeah, if I need anything, I'm just gonna start writing. Yeah, I think that's about it. Do I need anything else? Probably not. I can probably just start now. I am going to just start now, I think. I don't know if I need anything else. Well, other than the stream working, I don't think I need anything else. Seems like it's working. Seems like you guys can just hear me fine and whatever. So yeah, I think we're good to go. Yeah, let's not waste time.
Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Welcome to Module 1, where you're going to learn your first chords. They are A and D. I'm also going to show you how to change between them real smooth using anchor fingers and my trademark 1-minute changes exercise. We're also going to learn a song that just uses those two chords. We're going to look at real simple strumming and how to count your beats too. I'm also going to show you how to minimize your finger pain. A little bit of finger soreness is completely normal and nothing to worry about. I'm going to also take you through a detailed practice routine, show you exactly what you should be practicing and for how long. I really hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in a sec.
Dude, that fucking... This fucking frill here, or whatever it is people call it. It's just like fucking ingrained into my fucking ears. It's just such a fun frill. I'm getting distracted. That's not good. It's gonna make it like take a lot longer and shit. So, let's fucking go. Yeah, this is easy. So what do we got? Like play the D, play the A, finger, exercise. Now I don't know how I'm gonna like play around with the camera here, but we'll see. Bars and strumming, how to strum. Yeah, I think this is fine for today. I think I can go through the whole hour. Let's go.
Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Are you ready? It's time to learn your first chord, which is going to be a D chord. So let's get that chord diagram up and let's get started. So you want to always put your fingers down in finger order.
Right, you guys can't see it. Fuck. How do I do it? I just can't really see the thing. I was gonna add a source capture. What do I do? Window capture. Create new YouTube floating window. Yeah, that works. Get a bit smaller. Let's have it like that. I think that's good. Yeah. Alright. Let's go.
The first finger is finger number 1. This is going to go in the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So you can think there's the 1st fret, there's the 2nd fret, and it's string 1 would be the thinnest, 2 would be the next one up, and the 3rd one up will be the 3rd string. So first finger is going down. Remember that we want to place it right up next to the fret as well. Okay, so first finger in the 1, 2, 3rd string in the 1, 2, 2nd fret. The 2nd finger is going in the same fret on the thinnest string. So you want to put then down your 2nd finger You would leave your first finger down normally, but I'm just using to show you. Remember, you want it, of course, right up next to the fret if you can. That means that your fingers will be at an angle. Of course, you can't keep them square on, otherwise your first finger is going to be back too far. So you can see the fingers are at a bit of an angle there. That's totally fine. So first finger first, second finger down next on the thinner string, then third finger is going to reach up to play the third fret of the second string, so on the string in between your first and second fingers. Now, I'm making that look pretty easy, but it's very likely the first time you try and do it, your third finger is going to be back here somewhere. You'll find it very difficult to get the third finger right up next to the fret. That's okay. That's just a normal beginner problem, is to try and work on that flexibility of the fingers and the stretch there. So if you're just back here, it's okay, but try and slide that third finger up so it's right up next to the fret. In the first weeks of learning guitar, your fingers are going to hurt. There's no way around it. Pressing your fingers down on the metal is just, it's going to get a little bit uncomfortable. So what you can do to help is not press down until you really need to. Now, particularly when you're learning chords like this, you put your first finger down first, but you don't need to press real hard right away.
Yeah, that makes
just
sense.
Place it down and then get it in the right position, but we're not pressing real hard. We want to leave it there, just rough. I'm not even touching the string down on the metal yet. I'm just kind of putting it in position. Then I'm going to get my third finger down, roughly in position. Then I'm going to get my third finger down and try and get it up there. And only when I'm ready to actually play the chord am I actually going to press my fingers down. Once you've got your fingers in the right position, you need to test all of the notes in your chord and make sure that each note is ringing out clearly. Now for the D chord, we're not going to play the thickest two strings, so the first note that you want to test is the open fourth string. Now you might find it sounds like this, in which case it's going to be the fault of the tip of the first finger.
He's correct,
it's just
dude.
up a little bit too high and is touching the fourth string. If it's touching even the smallest amount, the note will be dead. So you need to bring that first finger down just a little bit to make sure that your open fourth string is ringing out clearly. The next note that we'll test will be the third string. Okay, so we're now having to press down hard with our fingers at this point. If this note sounds like this, it means you're not pressing hard enough, or your finger is too far back. You can hear as I move it forward. Now we've got our nice clear note. If that note is muted, it could also be the tip of the third finger is up a little bit too high and touching that string as well. So you need to really be aware of what fingers are touching where. The third finger doesn't want to be touching that third string or it's going to mute it. So we've got that one sounding good. We've got first finger sounding good. Now the note with on the second string played with the third finger. Again, very common to get this kind of problem where the third finger is too far back. So try your best to get it forward. It's not really any fingers that might mute that string. So the most common problem on that second string is either not pressing hard enough or the third finger being too far from the fret. Now the hardest note for most beginners is to get this thinner string ringing out. The problem is usually the third finger laying down a little bit too far. So you need to make sure that I'm just bringing my hand forward a little bit. I'm exaggerating it now, but bringing the knuckles of my hand here forward a bit will help get onto the tip of the third finger there.
Yeah, like I already know this.
Okay, so that's really the key thing to get this note ringing out clearly is the placement of the third finger. If it's too flat, lying down too much like that, it just mutes that thinner string. So you want to make sure that they're all
probably just
right on
skim
the
through
tips of
these,
the
but
fingers.
I'm
just going to press really hard for a second so you can see where the strings are actually touching. If I just hold my fingers up now, you can see where those lines are in my fingers. They're right on the end.
Damn, okay?
That's exactly where it'll hurt. And one thing that often concerns beginners when they're learning their chords for the first time is the placement of the thumb. Now, you'll often see me with my thumb around the top of the guitar neck, but that's not what I recommend for beginners. I'd recommend that you keep your thumb right around the back of the guitar. Now, the reason I recommend that for beginners, even though it's not what I do, is it's really important that you build up the strength in this muscle here between your thumb and your first finger. We're going to need that for doing these things called bar chords later on, where we play further up the neck. And if you play like this with your thumb over the top right at the beginning, that muscle won't get worked at all, and when you come to learn your bar chords, you'll find it really, really difficult. It's a lot easier to learn here with the thumb at the back of the neck. It'll help give your fingers a good position as well. Anyway, hello Ziggy. Oh, my dog's finally woken up from her nap and come to join me right
Hey,
in the middle of the lesson.
doggy!
Thanks, Ziggy. Say
Let's
hello to the
fucking
people.
go.
Go back to bed, would you? Would you go back to bed for me?
Justin.
Would you go back to bed? Come on, I'll play with you later. Come on, bed.
Base
Thank you for
Justin.
the visit. Now go to bed. Bed. Come on, off you go. There you go. Good girl. By keeping your thumb around the back of the neck, it keeps all your fingers in a nice position. It'll stop you kind of grabbing the guitar neck too much. Ideally, you don't want the palm of your hand here, where your fingers meet the palm of your hand. Ideally, you don't really want that touching the guitar neck at all, but definitely not with the first few chords that we're learning. In fact, I know it might look, if I'm playing like this, that my hand is touching, but if I just extend my fingers out, you'll see there's always a little gap here between my first finger and the guitar neck. It doesn't want to be touching there. It wants to, the fingers are there, and that's for all of the chords. Like that one, again, it looks like it is, but if I reveal it, there is still a very small gap there between the,
I have longer fingers and I have
inside knuckle of my first finger and the guitar neck. It doesn't want to touch. There might be times later on in your journey where you do that, where I use my thumb when I play chords quite often, but that's not the kind of thing that you want to start off learning. When it comes time to practice your chord, I'm going to give you a little system I call chord perfect practice. We've got 4 stages. The first one is finger placement. So we're going to first of all place first finger down, then second finger down, then third finger down. Still not pressing hard, I'm just getting them in the right position. Now I'm going to press down, I'm going to have a go at strumming the chord. And now I'm going to go through and make adjustments to try and get the chord as perfect as I can. So already I played the 5th string there, I didn't want to really play that, so I'm not going to play the thickest 2 strings, then I'm going to play the 4th string. Okay, that's not really working, so let's get the first finger down there a bit, there we go. Now we've got that, that's good. Now first finger.
Man, the fucking sympathetic resonance on this.
On the second string. Okay, that's a bit buzzy. Let's try and get the third finger up a little higher. Okay, we're going good so far. Okay, third finger needs to go more on the point. Okay, we've got it. We've made our adjustments. The chord's sounding good. And then the last part, we just want to do a strum. And we want to tell ourselves, hand, this is how I want you to go when we're playing the D chord. Okay, really try and make a mental picture of where your fingers are, what it feels like, what it looks like. As you do that final strum, really reinforce the correct finger placement for that individual chord.
That's it? Oh, shit. That was the D chord. No, it's the A chord. I could just read this and continue, but like, maybe I should. But again, like, I really don't want to rush anything. I don't know.
Hey, how you doing, Justin?
Load it out. Is it there? Okay, it's there.
And back with you to learn another chord. This time we're going to check out how to play the A chord. Now, it's worth bearing in mind at this point, if you're new to the whole guitar thing, that you're going to find these chords really difficult the first little while. Okay, the first week or two, it's going to feel really impossible. Like, I can't do it, this is just too hard, I'm not built for playing guitar. Pretty much everyone feels like that, and that's okay. Don't really worry about it. It just takes a little bit of perseverance, making sure you stick with your practice and practicing, hopefully, the right thing. So let's go and have a look at our A chord. So here is our A chord. You can see that we've got 3 fingers all crammed into the same fret. Now, I want to point out that the traditional way of learning A chord is like this, all 3 fingers, 1, 2, 3, all in a line. But you can probably already see that the first finger there is very, very far away from the fret. So to make that note sound clear, you'd have to press really, 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 really hard. And that will make your finger hurt. So the fingering that I teach, it's got some other advantages as well, but you can see straight away now that these 2 fingers, fingers 2, fingers 3, are right up next to the fret. And first finger sneaks in between them and is in fact a lot closer to the fret than any of the fingers were, or than even the middle finger was here in the traditional fingering. So I think it's also much better because, like changing to the D chord, look, first finger can stay in the same place when we're moving to a D chord and stay on the same string when we move to an E chord, okay, which are going to be the next chord that we learn.
See, like, I
lots
wouldn't
of
do
advantages
this
to learning A chord this way. If
I
you've
just
learned
skip
it that
it.
way in
I
the
would
past
still
and you're redoing
stay
a
with,
beginner's
like,
guitar course,
bar.
then it's not a terrible thing to learn it that
Like
way. That's how I
barring like
learned
this,
to play an A
or
chord,
the
but I think
traditional
you're much
one,
better off
the line
learning
there.
this way. So let's start off fingers 1 first of all. It's going to go in the middle roughly of the fret, okay, maybe slightly toward the 2nd fret there, but it's the 2nd fret 3rd string, so 1, 2, 3rd string, more or less the same place it was for our D chord, but just back a little bit, you know, half a centimeter or something like that. 2nd finger is then going to reach over the top and is going to go down right next to the fret on the 4th string, and 3rd finger is going to reach now underneath, still in the same fret on the 2nd string. Will feel a little bit cramped the first few times you do it. It feels a lot better after a week's practice, I can assure you. Okay, let's take it off, do that one more time. So 1st finger in the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, 1, 2 on 1, 2, 3, okay, and then slightly not right up at the fret, so just pull it back just a little bit. Then 2nd finger will reach over right up next to the fret, 2nd fret 4th string, 3rd finger 2nd fret 2nd string. Now we're not playing the thicker string for the A chord, so we start by testing out the 5th string. If that's not ringing out correctly, it's almost certainly 2nd finger being a little bit too high and muting it. So make sure you're using the tip of the 2nd finger there, and it's not sitting too high and muting the 5th string. Now we go on to the 4th string, which is the note played here by the 2nd finger. If that note's not ringing out clearly, it's almost certainly that you're not pressing hard enough. Okay, because the position reaching over the 1st finger there, it has to be right up next to the fret. You might find if you've gone too far that it starts to sound a little dead. Not buzzy, but just dead. So here's the good note. Here's the...
Am I doing early strings?
Cross over too far, it goes a bit dead. So just behind is what you want that one to be. The note here on the 3rd string, if you're not getting that one, it's probably again just not pressing hard enough with the 1st finger. So try and really sneak the 1st finger up there in between the other 2 fingers, but without pushing the other 2 fingers past the fret. Okay, it might sound like this. That's not pressing hard enough. Now press still a bit rattly, a little bit harder. There we go. And we got the good note. 3rd finger should be right up next to the fret anyway. Because of the position of the fingers, most people will find that that note's probably one that's not going to need too much attention. Should be okay. Although the hardest one is to follow, which is the thinner string. Now the 3rd finger, all of the fingers are cramped up, and especially if you've got big hands, it's going to take a little bit of fiddling around with the hand position to get this one ringing out nice and true. The most common problem by far with the A chord is the 3rd finger just laying slightly over too far and muting the thinner string. When you're practicing your A chord, of course you go through that same chord perfect program. So you've placed the fingers first, 1st finger, 2nd finger, 3rd finger. You're not pressing too hard first of all, remember, just getting them in the right place. And then we do a strum. And then we try and figure out what went wrong and reposition things. So that one, tip of the 2nd finger come down a bit there. That one's okay.
Okay, Justin.
So 1st finger, let's get that.
You can't
up.
hit the note properly.
3rd finger's okay.
Ha!
Up on the tip more.
Justin, you silly
Once
goose.
we've tested all of the notes, we do that final
How
strum.
are you missing the notes?
And we're going to tell ourselves that's how I want you to go when I'm playing the A chord. The best way of practicing this chord, and every chord in fact that you learn in the future, is a little bit often. Try and avoid the temptation of spending ages on the one chord, pressing down real hard all the time, giving yourself finger pain, not doing any of the other fun stuff that you could be practicing. Much better off sticking to a proper routine where you time yourself and you do 2, 3, 5 minutes, whatever, little bursts of practice where you can play it, take it off, put it down, on and off, getting used to what the chord feels like, practicing getting it right, and then stop and move on to another thing. Okay, or have a little break, give your fingers a bit of a rest. Don't feel that pressure of like really going hard on learning a particular chord. Actually, the benefits are a lot less than the benefit that you'll get from small amounts of regular practice.
I'm so distracted right now. It's not it's boring, it's just because I know it already. It's like I mean, we are gonna play a song here. Seems like so yeah, I'm gonna go through it. I'm just gonna speed through it. Seems like there's nothing right now. So is there a way to turn off the whole like next thing?
How you
Whatever,
doing,
I don't
Justin?
know. Let's go again.
Back with you again for a lesson all about anchor fingers. Now, I kind of touched on it there when I was talking about the A chord, in that the first finger is in the same fret for both our A chord and a D chord. And whenever we're changing chords, and we can keep a finger either on the same fret or on the same string at least, we can refer to it as an anchor finger, and it makes changing chords a lot easier. So the common kind of progression for beginners is the first thing, the first hurdle that you have to overcome is the finger pain. Okay, it's going to hurt a little bit. Probably most of the first lesson you're just more worried about the finger pain than anything else. The very next thing, the next problem is changing between the chords fast enough. Okay, that becomes the next obstacle, and that's something that we're going to work on again in this lesson. The anchor fingers thing is one of the ingredients that will help you learn to make your changes really fast and really smooth. So let's have a little bit of a close-up look at the anchor finger that we can use today for the change between the A chord and the D chord. So let's start off with our D chord. We've got the fingers in position now. I'm not pressing hard, I've got them in the right place. But if I strummed right now, I'm not even getting a sound out of that chord, okay? I'm not trying to press the fingers down, I'm just trying to get them in the right position. Again, we've got enough time we're going to spend pressing down our soft fingers on the hard metal strings. We want to do any practice that we can where we're practicing just pressing the fingers really lightly. And practicing this chord change, the anchor finger, we don't need to press hard. Okay, makes it even, in fact, a little harder. It's easier if you keep your fingers nice and relaxed. So try and get your fingers in position. First finger, second finger, third finger. Now to move to the A chord, we leave first finger down and we lift second and third fingers up. We need to slide first finger back just a little bit. Then we're going to put down the second finger and put down the third finger, and we've got our A chord. We're not even going to worry about strumming it when we're working on our anchor finger practice. We're just going to leave first finger down and lift second and third fingers back up. Slide the first finger forward a bit, put down the second finger and third finger. Again, we're not pressing hard. Lift off second and third finger, slide the first finger back a bit, second finger, third finger. That's our A chord. Second and third finger off, leave first finger down, slide it up a bit. Second finger, third finger. Off, slide it back, put them down.
I'm a Justin guitar student now.
This is the anchor finger practice. Literally doing this. You don't have to worry about strumming the chord. You don't have to worry about any of that other stuff. We're just trying to develop a kind of a fluid movement between the two chords using our anchor finger to help guide where the other fingers go. Now, eventually, you'll find that the fingers can find their own way there pretty easily. But that takes a little bit of practice beyond the anchor finger into a thing I call the 1 minute changes.
The 1 minute changes. Alright. Let's see. Let's just go. Alright.
Hey, how you doing? Justin here, and today I'm going to share with you what I think is probably the most important exercise in this entire course. It is the 1 minute changes. We're going to pick two chords and change between them as many times as we can in 1 minute. Sounds pretty simple. Actually, it is a relatively simple exercise, but the benefits are huge. As I already mentioned, the first hurdle that beginners have is dealing with the finger pain. That's generally pretty horrible for a couple of weeks and gradually gets better. It should be pretty much gone after a couple of months, if not sooner. The next challenge is making the chord changes fast enough to be able to play a song. You can't really play a song just with one chord. There might be a song, there's just one chord, but most songs have multiple chords, so learning to change between the chords is the thing that you need to be able to do to play any songs. It's also the fact that we count the changes in the 1 minute changes exercise is a fantastic motivational tool because you actually get to see your progress. There's no question about it. Sometimes when you learn a guitar, it's like, oh, have I really got better? I've done all of this practice. But with 1 minute changes, because you're writing the number of changes down each practice session, you can see yourself go from like, I did 5 changes this minute, and then the next day I did 10, and then the next day I did 25, and it's quantifiable. It's a really fantastic motivational tool, so I definitely encourage you to be using the practice routine generator on my site, or the 1 minute changes counter in the app, or at the very least a piece of paper and a pen and writing down how many chord changes you do with each practice session. So I've already given you the idea. Right now we've only got 2 chords to change between, which is the A chord and the D chord. So the first thing I recommend you do is just actually make the chord changes a few times. So we're doing A to D today. It's the only 2 chords that we know. So just remembering to use the anchor finger there. Just trying to get the chord nice and fresh before we go into doing the 1 minute changes. The object of the exercise of 1 minute changes is to do fast chord changes. They're allowed to be a little bit sloppy. I know this might seem a little bit weird, but the accuracy of the finger placement isn't the key thing. They should be on the right string and in the right fret. But the rest of it is kind of forgivable. If the notes aren't quite ringing out as clearly as you'd like or whatever, that's okay. That's why we do the chord perfect practice as well. So chord perfect practice is about making the chords sound really good. 1 minute changes is about making the changes really fast. And if you practice those 2 things separately, after a few weeks you'll find they start to come together, and you'll find that you're doing very fast and accurate chord changes. But in the initial stages, those 2 things might seem a little bit distant. So you're doing your 1 minute changes and you're like, oh, these chords aren't ringing out right, it's not good enough. It's okay. If you've got any doubt, go and watch my left-handed practice, the Nitsudge lessons, where I'm starting out doing these chord changes. It's a bit of a fumble fest, lots of duff notes coming out, and that's totally all right. So once you've got your fingers, they kind of know roughly where they're going to go. You're going to hit start on the timer, and then you're going to go do as many as you can. You're going to strum each chord, and you're going to count each time you do a chord change. I usually count the first one as well, so I'd hit start and I go.
Oh, it's doing it left-handed. That's so cool.
3, 4, 5.
My man's watching his own tutorial videos.
Going through and counting out loud so that you can count your changes. Now, ideally, what we're looking for is a flow. So even if it's real slow, trying to get like a flow going from one chord to the next. Just so you've got like a pulse to it. Because once you've got a pulse, you can start trying to speed it up. Ideally, like the long-term thing I think is that you want to get to 60 changes in a minute. That's a chord change every second. For sure you won't be doing that in your first week. Okay, but that's, if you can do 60 chord changes of a particular pair of chords, I'd say you don't need to practice it anymore. Okay, so that's the object. To pass the first grade, I would usually say, and to get through this lesson, I'd say that you want to get up around 30 changes in a minute. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. up to 30. If you can get 30 changes done in a minute, that's enough to move on to the next lesson. To pass the grade out is 30, but really 60 is that's the target that you want to try and reach with all of the chord changes. You're going to find some chord changes harder than others. Of course, this week we've only got 1. But as we move on further down the course and we introduce more chords, there are more different changes, so you want to work on the ones that you find it the hardest. Do let me know in the comments below how you're getting on with this. How many chord changes did you get through the very first time that you had to go and doing your 1 minute changes, and how fast did you progress? It's a really fun thing. Definitely if you do it and you're feeling like, oh, I can't do it, I'm hopeless, go and watch me try it left-handed the first time, and you'll see me struggle with it as well. It's dead normal, just stick at it. Okay, that's the thing. A little practice often is the way forward in these beginner stages.
Bars and strumming on 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I'm about to fucking drop this thing. So the thing is, my shirt, right? This is a jersey. Can't see it on screen, but it's very slippery. So Yeah, this can fall pretty easily. This thing slides pretty easily on this. But yeah, whatever. Whatever. Let's go.
Hey, how you doing, Justin here. Today I'm going to talk about your very first strumming pattern, which is simply strumming on the one. Now, all of the music that we're looking at the early stages of the beginner's course is in 4/4 time. That means it's got 4 beats in the bar. I'm sure you've heard before, or seen at a gig, people go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the music starts. Maybe you wondered why they count to 4. It's usually because there's 4 beats in the bar. There are other time signatures where there's different amounts of beats in the bar, but 4/4 time or 4 beats in the bar is the most common. Now, the general idea here is that you want to learn to count along. Eventually we're going to be tapping our foot along as well, but you want to be first of all thinking just about this counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Get used to being able to count it. I know it seems silly, but have a go at doing that first. It might feel a little bit odd if you're used to counting to 10. And then what you want to be doing is practicing strumming only on the one. So get, say, your D chord up, and you're going to strum down on 1 and count the rest. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you see that my arm is moving for all of the rest of the beats? That's the ideal. 2, 3, 4. Even though I'm actually not strumming, I'm still keeping my arm moving. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think many beginners are going to be able to strum on 1 and keep the hand moving for the rest of the time. I couldn't do that really when I was learning my left-handed stuff.
See, like, I clearly don't need.
But you'll find through the course I'm trying to give you the ideal option as well, because some people will be ready for it. So you might do it and be like, yeah, I'm cool with this. I can move my hand down as I'm counting along. I'm totally hip with that. In which case, I want you to do it. For me, it was a little bit more cumbersome than that. I didn't feel like I could do that. I was more worried about the chord changes, which is the next thing coming up. You know, just even getting used to just strumming down, going 1, 2, 3, 4, chord change, 1, 2, 3, 4, chord change, 1, 2. That would be amazing if you can get to that point. For most beginners, it's going to be more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, I guess I started on.
Don't worry about it. It's okay not to be okay at this stuff, especially in your first week or first couple of weeks. It's going to be a real struggle, and that's totally cool. Be cool with that. Okay? Really, really important at this stage that you get used to that idea. The reason that I want to talk about this strumming on 1 is particularly when you go to play a song. Even if it's real slow, at the early stages we just want to be trying to get that strum on beat 1. Not strumming on beat 2 or beat 4, but trying to count. Get used to the idea of strumming on beat 1. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, chord change, 1, 2, 3, 4, chord change, 1. So we're trying to get the chord change in time to be able to strum the 1 again, even if it means starting the change immediately after playing. So going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay? The strum on the 1 is the key thing. So if you have to leave the chord early, if your chord change is quite slow and you have to leave early to get there, that's okay. The thing you're aiming for is getting that strum on beat 1, particularly when you're playing a song or you're playing along with a backing track kind of thing, using my app, the Beginner Song Course app. You want to be aiming to try and get your strum on 1. In the first week, that's going to be very difficult. Do your best. Try and get that strum on 1. But if you only get to strum every 4 times the chord changes because the chord changes are so slow, that's okay too. Particularly when you start playing songs. There's some other challenges that I'm going to talk about in the following video. But the key thing that I wanted to mention is this counting to 4, just going 1, 2, 3, 4, and putting a strum on the first beat.
Damn, okay. How to strum the correct strings. Okay. Let's keep going. Now let's go.
Hey, how you doing, Justin?
Oh, wait. Let's go.
Here today I want to talk about strumming the correct strings. Now, as you're probably aware, when we play a D chord, we don't want to play the thickest two strings. But as a beginner, that's going to be quite challenging, especially if you're playing a song that you're worrying about your chord changes and everything else. So does it really matter? Now, if you're aiming for the thinnest four strings for the D chord and you accidentally hit the fifth string, it sounds fine. In fact, sometimes it sounds really good to have that note. On the D chord, the thicker string doesn't sound very good. But you know what? In the early stages, it's going to happen. So don't worry about it. If you accidentally hit that thicker string, no one's going to get hurt. It's not going to cause any problems. It might not be perfect, but that doesn't matter. It's really important that you get that. The fun thing here is making your chord changes, trying to do the strumming, playing along with some songs. There's a whole lot of stuff to learn. Not playing the thicker string on a D chord is kind of important in the grand scheme of guitar, but not in the first few weeks. So try not to hit it when you're strumming. But if you accidentally hit it, it doesn't matter. With the A chord, you're not supposed to play the thicker string, but it doesn't sound bad, actually. It's a note in the chord, actually. The E note is part of an A chord. It's here. And here. Two outside strings are both the note E. So if you can play the thinnest one, and kind of play the thickest one, it just doesn't sound as good as if you leave it out. Now, these things are ideal, so it's the sort of thing that you want to bear in mind when you're practicing, but there are other priorities like making your chord changes, strumming on the one, making sure all of the notes are nice in the chords. That sort of stuff is far more important than possibly accidentally hitting one of the strings that you shouldn't on a particular chord. So be aware of it when you're practicing, particularly you're doing your chord perfect exercises. You want to be doing your strum correctly from the right string and making sure that you don't play those thickest two strings. But especially when it comes to songs, when there's other stuff going on, this really isn't the top of the priority list.
It comes with experience. Yeah, it's fine if you hit those, but it would sound way better if you don't hit those. And that's just gonna come experience. It's kind of true, back then, when I had that guitar back there, if you guys can see, like this one, that one, yeah, we just play the fucking, play the D chord, strum everything down. Yeah, it is fine. I mean, it's a point of an open chord anyways, it's just that, it's good for beginners. And hitting down the top of the string is probably just not that bad. I mean, it does sound bad when you look at it, when you compare it to the open D really has that power sounding. There you can just add everything. It loses that. So yeah, it is.
Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today I want to share with you a few tips on how to avoid finger pain because
shit, that one.
It really does hurt. Those first couple of weeks, I was really shocked when I did the left-handed guitar lesson stuff before filming this beginner course. It really hurt, much more than I remember. I was a little kid when I learned guitar. I don't remember my fingers hurting at all. And I've mentioned that, it's going to hurt, but man, it really hurts. So I want to give you as many tips as I can on how to avoid having a problem with finger pain. And for a lot of people, it's one of the reasons why they give up, because their fingers are hurting too much and they're not enjoying it. So that's completely avoidable if you'll follow my advice. So the first thing is, only press your fingers down when you need to. When you're doing like anchor finger changes or chord perfect stuff, you shouldn't be pressing down with your fingers real hard. You should get your fingers in the right position, but don't press hard unless you're actually making a sound with the chord, when you're playing the chord itself. The rest of the time, you're just working on manipulating your fingers and getting them into the right spots. Along with that goes point 2, which is going to be making sure your fingers are positioned well. That positive finger placement thing I talked about, where you get your fingers right next to the fret. That's really important. The better placed your fingers are, the less pressure you have to put on them to get a good note, and therefore the less your fingers are going to hurt. So learning to place your fingers really well should be an important part of your mission in these early stages. Now, I also would recommend that you practice a little often and don't go too hard at it. I'm forever reading stories of people going like, well, I really want to learn guitar, so I practice for an hour a day. It's like, you're learning guitar the first few weeks, you don't practice an hour a day. Your fingers are hurt, like real bad. And then you won't want to play anymore. So my prescribed amount of practice would be 20 minutes a day, 4 days a week. So for example, having a lesson, doing the, your lesson 1 with me on a Sunday or a weekend or whatever, and then practicing on Monday and Tuesday, having Wednesday off, practice Thursday and Friday, have the weekend off, and do the same thing for a second week if you need it. Okay, that kind of thing. It's if you want to practice every day. When I was doing my lefty practice, I quite often practiced 5 days in a row or 6 days in a row and then moved on to the next lesson. But I'm super aware of where I can press, where I shouldn't press, getting my fingers in the placement in exactly the right place. So I kind of feel like maybe it was a bit easier for me than it would be for most people. And I suspect for most people, it'll be a couple of weeks, if not 3 or 4 weeks for each lesson. Okay, so try and space out your practice. If you do want to go real hard at it and do lots of practice, try doing like a morning session or an evening session. Don't go and do double the amount of everything, for example.
Yeah, I might do
really
that. Like,
can hurt your
future,
fingers to the point where you won't be able to play for a few days. Okay, it's really, really a big deal here is not overdoing this whole thing. So on the practice routine, you're going to have a 10-minute session where you're playing songs. Now, 10 minutes continually pressing your fingers down is going to hurt. I would recommend that you break that up a little bit if the fingers start to get really sore. So if you're halfway through the first song and you're like, no, I just can't do it, just pause. Don't battle your way through it. There's got to be a certain amount of just dealing with the pain and getting over it and just kind of like, yeah, okay, I know it's going to hurt. I'm not going to damage my fingers. It's just painful. But at the same time, you want this guitar journey to be fun. So if you're doing your 10-minute guitar song practice and it gets a few minutes in and you need a break, just hit pause. Have a break, rub your fingers. Rubbing your fingers on your leg will help. Just trying to massage them a little bit. You'll end up with the big lines in the ends of your fingers. That's okay. It actually never goes away. Your skin gets a bit tougher and it doesn't hurt, but you still get the lines in your fingers. But just like rubbing them against your thumb or, doing this, or even on the guitar body, doing anything just to give them a little bit of a soft massage and then continue on the next round of practice for your songs. That, it's really, really important that you don't hurt yourself here or make playing guitar an unpleasant thing. I want you to love playing guitar and really enjoy the journey. And finger pain is one of those things that can really screw that up.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're gonna learn a song. Let's go. Oh, he has a few here, actually. And this is how we have fun, learning the songs. Fuck yeah, I'm getting a bit tired though. How much stuff do we have? It's this halfway point, so like we have like kind of like what, 30 more minutes? 10, yeah. Around 30 more minutes. Yeah, let's go.
Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today I'm going to share with you some awesome songs that have only 2 chords that are going to be perfect for you to practice this week. Get your chord changes between your A chord and D chord, give you some experience playing songs. Now, I should point out, even before I talk about the songs, it is is going to be a little bit tricky, particularly like the first few days of practicing. If you've only just learned your A chord and your D chord and you're struggling to change between them, playing a song is going to be mighty difficult. But it's well worth having a go at it, okay? Making sure you choose a song where it hasn't got too many chord changes, or slow the tempo down if you're using my beginner song course app, which I'll talk about more in a second. But keeping the tempo nice and easy, try just having a go at feeling what the pressure's like. It'll really give you an understanding of why it's really important to practice your chord changes, because you'll find that you play one chord and already you need to change to the next chord. It'll help inspire you. Don't find it frustrating. Think of it as like an inspiration tool, not a, oh God, I can't even do it. It's the first lesson. It's going to be hard. If it was really easy, everyone would be able to play guitar. But you're special.
True.
You can stick with it and go, oh God, this is really difficult. I understand now why you're saying that doing the chord changes is so important. And after the second day, and your chord changes a little bit better and you have a go at playing the songs, you're like, well, I'm nearly there. Maybe like 5-6 practice sessions in, you'll actually be able to play along with a song.
See, I have
And
like John Mayer
cool
thumb
when you
though.
get to that point. So do bear with it, even if it feels a little bit
is
awkward
massive.
right when you first have a go at playing along with a song.
So I
Now,
kind of do have
the
John
song that I
Mayer
normally encourage people to get into is this song "Dance the Night Away" by the Mavericks. It's basically D chord for a bar, 2, 3, 4, A chord for a bar, 3, 4, D chord, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4. It's that for the whole song. Nothing different. Really excellent song for practicing your chord changes, your anchor fingers, getting your fingers in the nice position, strumming on the one. It's got all of that stuff going on. For the first few days, you'll probably find the chord changes are a little fast, so you might need to slow it down. Now, if you're going to use my beginner song course app, available for iOS and Android, there'll be a link in the description below, you can change the speed of the songs. Okay, so if you're finding it a little bit difficult at the recorded tempo, you can just hit the little button on the side and slow it down a little bit. Of course, for some of these songs that have only got 2 chords, like that song that have got the same chords bouncing from one to the other all of the way through,
I think we need these two.
It can get a little bit boring if you're just playing it on your own. But for 10 minutes, which is how much practice time you've got on songs in your practice schedule.
Or the next one. Because I using his app, I don't think I'm going to get his app. He said I have to pay for the app. Is that nothing not going to get his app?
10 minutes.
Not because I don't want to.
Kind of like some sort of Chinese water torch or something. Just do that exactly the same thing for 10 whole minutes. And your fingers are going to be sore. And you're going to struggle to make the chord changes. That's just not the right way to do it. Okay? Using my beginner song course app, we give you drums and bass and a melody played on the piano. So that gives you a thing to play along with. It'll feel much more like you're actually playing a real song. Understand maybe not everyone can afford to buy an app, because that is a paid for part of the thing. It's not something I can give away. We have to pay royalties to the songwriters and all of that sort of stuff, and I share app development costs. So it has to be a paid for thing, okay? If you can't afford it, we include play-alongs like that on the website as well. There'll be links on the practice page that'll give you, actually that song is one of them, where you can play along with me and the app. Okay, so there is a way of doing it for free still, but you will find the app is an incredible tool, because there's a lot more songs than just one or two. There's a whole heap of different songs that you can choose from.
I'm just going to skip to the practice schedule maybe, and then the practice assistant, and we'll just end from there. You know, save a bit of time. Okay, hold on. Let's go.
Hey, how you doing? Justin back with you to talk about your practice routine for lesson 1. So I've prescribed you a pretty specific 20 minutes a day, which, as I mentioned before, I would recommend you do it 4 times a week. But if you're really going for it and your fingers aren't hurting too much, there wouldn't be any real bad harm in trying to do it every day if you so desired. I would prescribe 3 minutes of D chord perfect practice. Okay, so for 3 minutes, use a timer. You can use the practice assistant on the app on my website. You can use the app. There's lots of different ways of timing your practice, but I would recommend that you keep a note of it. At this point, as I'm filming this video, the best way of doing that is to use the practice assistant on my website, but the app will also be very helpful for that as well. The idea with the chord perfect thing, you're just going to get the chord. You hit start on your timer. You do the fingers. 1, 2, 3. Strum. Make any corrections.
I'm amazed you can get it wrong still. Unless the video's
Strum
very
it again.
glitchy, it's probably
Tell
not.
yourself that's the right way to play the chord. Take your hand off.
That's how you know, right? You just know how to
Finger
recreate
one,
a shit.
Finger 2, finger 3. Temp the chord. Corrections, etc. That's the chord perfect practice. You're going to be doing that for 3 minutes on the D chord,
recreate a mistake,
and then
so
3 minutes, exactly the same exercise, but on the A chord.
Let's go.
Okay, so 3 minutes on D, 3 minutes on A. Then we're going to go to 2 minutes of anchor finger work. Okay, now you're not pressing hard for the anchor finger work. That's really important. You're just literally going to be playing the A chord, then the D chord, the A chord, but we're not actually playing anything. We're not even pressing full strength with the fingers. We're just trying to get the fingers into the right spot, concentrating on that motion of the first finger where it's moving just that little bit within the same fret and working as an anchor. Okay, 2 minutes on that. Then you've got 2 times 1 minute changes on A to D. Okay, if you want, you could do one session of 1 minute changes, then do the anchor fingers, and then do another session of 1 minute changes. That way you get a little break in between. That's probably not a bad plan. The 1 minute changes, of course, hit start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I'm getting real tired. I think I don't really need this. Module 1 practice schedule. I don't think I need that. So see the practice assistant. Oh, just like that. Alright, let's go.
Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Welcome to the Practice Assistant. In this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly how to use it. So, welcome to the dashboard. When you first log in, this is what you should find, or something like that. It may have evolved by the time you watch this video. Today, we're going to be talking about the Practice Assistant. So, just click on the Practice Assistant. When you first do, you're going to be prompted to make a new routine. So, I'd suggest you just start off by calling it test, but you need a routine to be able to get started. So, let's create routine, and I'll take you through all of the bits that you need. On this first about page, you'll find the link to this very video and some text that will explain all of the stuff that I'm talking about this anyway. The practice tab is where you'll actually do your practice. We haven't got a routine or any items done yet, so there's nothing to practice. So we'll come back to this in a second. The routines tab is where we'll make and edit our routines. But before that, we need to create some practice items. So let's talk about adding a practice item first of all. So if we go here to add a new item, we can set here a title of the item. So let's start with one for, say, chord changes. And then with description, so how many chord changes in a minute? And the duration will be, say, 1 minute. A related link could be for my 1 minute changes thing. You might want to open up another tab if you're going to add related lesson links in there. You can add links to anywhere, actually, to tell the truth. And statistic name is number of changes in this particular case. We hit save, and there we have our first active item. You could, I guess, use this for anything, really. If you were trying to count the number of push-ups you could do in a minute. You could add push-ups to your routine.
Oh yeah, use it for fucking
number of push-ups.
Workout sesh.
And save it, and you can have as many of these active items as you want. In fact, you're probably going to end up with quite a few active items. Note here we've got the very common pencil icon, which is the edit button. So if we decided that we wanted to put in our related link at a later time, we can always do that at any point. You can go back and update stuff. We've also got a duplicate item. So if you wanted to work on, let's say this particular chord changes where you're working on A to D, and you decide that you also want to specifically work on doing, say, A to E as well, you can hit that duplicate button, copy item, go in and edit this one, and just make it A to E. Save, and job done. Nice and simple. Now, only active items can go in routines. When you've completely finished with an item, you can move it to archived items by clicking on the little X, an archive item. When you put it there, though, they will be removed from routines. So only archive items that you definitely don't want to use
anymore. You can also add practice items directly from the site. So for example, the finger gym exercise on the site, if you click on the practice tab, you'll see there that we can add to your routine. We can add it either to the active routine or to practice items. Now we haven't talked about the routines yet, so I'm just going to add it to your practice item. There we go. Now when we go back to here, we do actually have to refresh the page. That's important. We have to go then practice items, and you'll see there
I
that the
think
finger
it's
gym
pretty
has been...
self-explanatory, right? Let's take a peek. I think it's self-explanatory. So I think I can mark it as complete. Let's just take a peek first. Resume. Practice. Yeah, then I can just create a routine. I think it's self-explanatory. I don't think. Yeah, let's see. Let's see what's this about.
Hey, how you doing? Justin back with you to answer what's been probably the most commonly asked question on my old beginners course, which is, when am I ready to move on to lesson 2? That's a good question. Like when you go to one-on-one lessons, the guy, you go for your lesson, he says, well, you're doing this really well, you've got to keep practicing that, we're ready to move on. In land of internet, you have to self-assess. You have to decide when you're ready to move on, but I'm going to give you some pretty clear guidelines.
Okay.
So before moving on to lesson 2, you need to have memorized your A and D chords. So you know how to play the chords without having to look at a chart or a page. Your fingers know, you go D chord, oh, that's this one.
All right.
There. A chord, yeah, that's that. There's only 2. Right? You need to have memorized those 2 chords. And you need to be able to change between them at 30 changes a minute or more. Okay, now the first few times 30 changes in a minute is going to feel nigh impossible. But after a couple of weeks, that's quite an achievable target. Ideally, we want to get up to 60 changes a minute, but not in the first week. So 30 is a really good amount to get to. If you get to the point though where you're at 22 changes or 25 changes and you've been on it for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks maybe, and you're like, oh, I'm just starting to get bored of this, move on. Okay, so even if you haven't accomplished all of the stuff that I've set, like you've got to learn this before you move on, if you're getting bored and you want some new food, then move on to the next lesson.
All right.
It's got to stay fun. This guitar thing, there's so many people drop out early because they get bored or they didn't practice the right stuff or their fingers hurt, and it's all unnecessary. If you're bored, if you're like, I'm not enjoying the guitar, I need some new stuff, learn some new stuff.
Like a few things.
But I would recommend that you've got your A chord and your D chord memorized, that you've got 30 changes in a minute, and that you've struggled your way through a song a couple of times. There's no more. It's not more complicated than that, really. For first lesson, I just want you to have had a go at playing a song, so you're aware of the importance of the chord changes and all of that, that you got some chord changes down, you've memorized a couple of chords. Actually, it should be, for most of you, achievable in maybe 2 to 4 weeks, I would say. 4 weeks at the maximum. If you're still on 4 weeks, maybe move on to the second lesson anyway. I would recommend, if you've got any doubts about it, to go and watch my left-handed lessons for the final one of the lesson 1 series. I think I did 4 on the first week for that series. Maybe I did 5, 4 or 5. Watch whatever the last one is, and you'll see me sign myself off and go, yeah, I'm cool with this. I'm ready for the next lesson. So if you're at that kind of level, then you're ready for the next lesson too. Hopefully, I'll see you for that very soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think the idea is to just skim through. Skim through these modules quickly and like just see what just see anything that I missed. Because if you look at this again, they're pretty much I pretty much learned most of this shit. The E chord, tapping the foot, strumming chord changes. Yeah, I can probably skim through these tomorrow. Seven Nation Army. See? Air changes, dynamics. See? Okay, this is where I need to pay the most attention on these last three. This next upcoming three is gonna be. We can probably skim through the third one here. This module here, module 2. Probably skim through this one quickly. And if I feel like it tomorrow, I'll maybe do this one as well. And I'll do this 3. But yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna, take my own time, really. Let's see the roadmap again. So this is grade 1. So what's grade 2 beginner? Damn, okay, we have a while, man. We have a while to go. If you go through one session every day. Well, the thing is, like these are the things that I already knew. Up to here, I think. So these is gonna take a bit as well. Yeah, we're gonna be here a while, actually. The second course. Cool chords. Alternating G's. Sus course. Sus. Amogus. 12-bar blues. Yeah, this is gonna take a while. This one's a lot. You might turn to a one session per week kind of thing. Rhythm technique, yeah. Chord grips. Yeah. Yeah, it picks up pretty quickly on next. Yeah. I definitely need to pay attention on like these basic theory and shit. But like for now, we're fine. You know. For now, we fine as hell. Hold on. What? Yeah, for now, I think we can skim through some of these pretty quickly. But yeah, maybe I'll actually stream it at like a proper like studying hours instead of like whatever hour this is. It's fucking 12 a.m. But yeah, I'm probably go through these one fast. And these I have to like slow down. I'm gonna force myself to slow down because I know for a fact that if I go fast, I'm gonna miss stuff. But yeah, that's about it for today. And thanks for watching. We'll continue our fucking learning series. And next time, if it's not tomorrow, then some other time. But like, as long as I don't have anything planned or not have a busy day, I'll just keep going. Probably. Alright. Have a good one.